Picture this very clearly in your mind. It is late at night. The room is completely dark except for the harsh, cold blue light radiating from your smartphone screen. You are lying in bed, mindlessly scrolling through your endless social media feed after a very long, deeply exhausting day. Suddenly, you stop. You see a video, you turn up the volume. Maybe it is a powerful politician saying something completely outrageous, or perhaps it is a beloved celebrity caught in a scandalous, completely unbelievable moment. You feel a sudden rush of adrenaline. Your heart beats a little faster as the shock sets in. Without even thinking, your thumb immediately hits the share button. You send it to your closest friends, you send it to your family group chat, totally ready to talk about it and dissect every single second of the footage. But then, just as you are about to type your message, you glance down at the top comment pinned right below the video. It is just two simple words. It is AI. Suddenly, your entire body freezes. You pull the phone closer to your face and you watch the video again, and now, looking at the exact same pixels, you are not so sure. You notice a weird blur around the mouth, a strange shadow on the neck, that slight, uncomfortable hesitation you just felt deep in your chest, that uneasy feeling. That is the actual sound of human history shifting forever. Think about our past. For well over a century, seeing was believing. Video was the ultimate, undisputed, ironclad proof of reality in our society. The rule was simple. If it was caught on camera, it definitely happened. There was no room for debate. But as of right now, as we sit here in the year 2026, that basic, fundamental biological trust has officially and permanently collapsed. We have crossed a line of no return. We have entered a terrifying new era where you can no longer trust your own eyes. But here is what the wealthy tech executives are desperately trying to hide from you. Here is what they are not telling you on the evening news broadcasts. The mainstream media constantly wants you to believe that the biggest danger of deepfakes is just some random, low-level scammer sitting in a basement trying to trick your grandparents into sending them money. They actively want you to think it is nothing more than a sophisticated financial fraud tool. They want you to worry about your wallet, so you do not look at the bigger picture. But what if I told you that the financial scams are just a distraction? What if losing a few $100s is the absolute least of your problems? What if this whole narrative is just a convenient cover story for something infinitely worse? Now, I need you to lean in, block out the noise around you, and listen very closely. The widespread, completely unstoppable release of flawlessly realistic AI generation is not some accidental byproduct of rapid technological innovation. It is not a mistake. It is a calculated, deeply systematic psychological operation. The true underlying goal of this massively funded technology is not to quietly empty your digital bank account. The real goal is far more ambitious. It is to completely, irreversibly erase the boundary between what is real and what is fabricated in your mind. It is, by all definitions, a mass cognitive infection. The engineers behind these screens are deliberately building a new world where your human brain is forced to constantly, endlessly second-guess its own physical senses. Why? Because the ultimate form of power is not physical force. Because when an entire society can no longer confidently agree on what is actually happening right in front of them, when basic facts become debatable, their shared reality can be perfectly, quietly controlled from the shadows. Let us look closely at how fast this digital trap is actually closing around us. We are not talking about those blurry, pixelated, poorly lip-synced joke videos from just a few short years ago. Those days are ancient history. As of right now, the deepfake technology running on corporate servers has crossed a terrifying, unimaginable threshold. It is no longer processing files slowly in the background. It is operating in perfect, seamless real time. Let me explain exactly what this means for your daily life. This means an advanced program can effortlessly intercept a live video call over your private network, entirely replace the caller's face, perfectly clone the unique vibrations of their vocal cords, and completely match their subtle emotional inflection without a single millisecond of lag. You could be sitting in your living room on a live video chat with your beloved spouse, your aging parent, or your trusted manager, and the glowing pixels on your screen are rendering a flawless, breathing imitation in the exact moment they speak to you. You would not see a single glitch. You would not hear a single robotic pause. To truly grasp the absolute horror of this reality, we need to step away from the computer and think about it in a purely physical sense. Imagine walking into your home and wrapping your arms around someone you deeply, truly love. You can feel the familiar, comforting warmth of their body pressing against yours. You can smell their perfume. You hear the exact, gentle rhythm of their voice whispering right into your ear. You feel completely safe. But then, right in the middle of that warm embrace, they slowly pull back, they smile at you, they look deeply into your face with cold, completely unfamiliar eyes, and they speak a sentence so deeply unnatural, so profoundly wrong, that it instantly chills you to the absolute core of your bones. In that tiny split second, all the warmth in the room turns to freezing ice. Your heart stops. You suddenly, horrifyingly realize that you have absolutely no idea who or what you are actually holding in your arms. Now, take that paralyzing feeling of betrayal and apply it to your everyday digital life. You have to remember how we are built. For hundreds of thousands of years, our human brains slowly evolved to rely on a very basic, fundamental biological defense system. It kept our ancestors alive. We naturally trust what we see with our own two eyes. We instinctively trust the familiar, soothing tone of a loved one's voice to tell us that we are safe from harm. But this new, hyper-advanced real-time deepfake technology has completely and utterly bypassed our biology. It has effectively neutralized your natural human instincts. When you can no longer trust the very sights and the very sounds coming through your personal, private devices, you are brutally stripped of your most fundamental senses. You become a completely disoriented, helpless creature, wandering blindly inside the walls of your own digital home. You are entirely alone in the dark, surrounded on all sides by flawless, smiling digital ghosts, desperately trying to guess which one of them is actually real. But surely, you might think, the massive tech companies that created this mess have a solution for this, right? We are constantly, reassuringly told by public relations teams that as the generation algorithms get smarter, the detection tools will naturally get smarter too. They stand on stages and promise us protective scanners, hidden invisible watermarks, and highly advanced verification software that will supposedly keep our families safe from these digital illusions. Yet, if you look behind the curtain, the data from recent independent security reviews reveals a massive, glaring, systemic failure. The current detection tools, the very shields we are told to rely on, are completely crumbling against the sheer power of the newest generative models. They are constantly throwing up false positives, confusing real footage for fake, or even worse, they are letting perfect, malicious fakes slip right through the security net without triggering a single warning light. Let us translate this technical failure into a real-world scenario that you can actually feel. Imagine moving into a new neighborhood and spending thousands of your hard-earned dollars to install the most advanced, heavy-duty, state-of-the-art security alarm on your front door to protect your sleeping family. You test it, it beeps loudly, you feel secure. But one dark night, while you are sitting on the couch, the heavy front door just silently swings wide open, and the expensive alarm stays completely, terrifyingly silent. Why did it not ring? Because you suddenly realize, as you look at the shadowy figure casually walking into your living room, that the intruder is the exact same software engineer who wrote the core source code for your expensive alarm system. He personally built the complex lock on your door, so of course, he knows exactly how to walk right through it without making a sound. Here is where the reality of our situation gets much, much darker than a simple burglary. What if this constant, miserable failure of our digital detection tools is not an accident at all? What if it is not a temporary technical glitch that will be fixed in the next software patch? I want you to really think about the massive, trillion-dollar corporate monopolies that are building these incredibly complex systems. The massive entity that is eagerly selling you the digital poison, the incredibly realistic generative AI, and the exact same corporate entity that is turning around and selling you the digital antidote, the premium AI scanner, are very often part of the exact same massive tech monopoly. They share the same board members. They share the same profit motives. They do not actually want to give you a perfect, foolproof detection tool. They are deliberately, carefully maintaining this exact level of failure to create a permanent, inescapable gray zone in our society. Think about it from a business perspective. If a scanner works perfectly every single time, the illusion is completely broken, the fear disappears, and you stop paying attention. But if the scanner is always just a little bit inaccurate, if it always leaves a tiny, nagging margin of doubt in your mind, then nobody can ever be 100% certain of anything they see. You are essentially trapped in a perpetual, exhausting state of high anxiety, constantly opening your wallet and paying them for new premium updates, essentially begging the very machine that intentionally blinded you to please tell you what is actually real. This constant, unrelenting daily bombardment of highly realistic lies creates something far more dangerous than just simple confusion among the public. Over time, it leads directly to a documented, severe psychological condition known as cognitive fog. When your fragile human brain is repeatedly, aggressively exposed to high-quality fakes masquerading as truth, it eventually becomes overwhelmed and develops a desperate, tragic defense mechanism. To protect itself from constantly being fooled, your brain shuts down its trust centers. You start to deeply doubt absolutely everything you look at, even the things that are undeniably, physically, historically true. You scroll down and you see a verified video of a real, devastating environmental disaster. You see footage of a real, bloody war, or you hear a real, desperate cry for help. And suddenly, your first biological instinct is no longer human empathy. It is cold, calculating suspicion. You find yourself narrowing your eyes and whispering, "Is this actually real? Or is this just another highly detailed simulation designed to manipulate my feelings?" To truly understand how deeply this cognitive fog paralyzes our humanity, imagine being physically trapped inside a massive, endlessly winding mirror maze at a dark carnival for hours on end. Every single path you try to take just leads to another confusing reflection. Every person you think you see walking toward you is just a flat image projected on cold glass. You bump your head, you scrape your hands. After a long enough time suffering in that maze, your mind simply breaks. When you finally, miraculously find a real, open window at the edge of the maze and you clearly see the warm sunlight shining outside, you do not jump through it to freedom. You stay completely frozen in place. You punch the real glass frame, bleeding from your knuckles, because you are absolutely convinced it is just another cruel illusion. You have entirely lost the fundamental ability to recognize the actual exit, even when it is sitting right there in front of your face. But here is the absolute, chilling horror that the tech blogs and the optimists are not telling you. This societal paralysis, this widespread emotional numbness, is not an unintended side effect of the technology. It is the goal. It is a highly effective, deeply cynical strategy called weaponized apathy. You see, the massive control system does not actually need you to completely believe their specific lie. That takes too much effort. It just needs you to entirely stop believing in the concept of truth altogether. Because a society that believes in absolutely nothing, a society that is simply too mentally exhausted, too drained to tell the difference between a real human tragedy and a digital graphic render, is a society that will never, ever stand up to fight back against authority. They have successfully neutralized your human spirit without firing a single bullet. By intentionally making everything look completely fake, they have made your personal reality and your potential for resistance completely and utterly irrelevant. And this terrifying reality leads us directly into a dark, rapidly expanding new legal loophole that lawyers are increasingly calling the liar's dividend. As flawless deepfakes become common, everyday occurrences on our feeds, powerful, corrupt figures have quietly realized a beautiful truth for themselves. They no longer need to work hard to hide their terrible wrongdoings. If a leaked, high-definition video suddenly surfaces online showing a prominent leader explicitly taking a massive cash bribe, or showing a giant corporation illegally dumping toxic chemical waste into a river, they no longer need to hire expensive public relations teams to painfully explain themselves. They do not need to apologize. They simply step up to a podium, smile warmly at the flashing camera lenses, and use three incredibly simple, magical words. It is AI. Let us pull this down to the street level and put it into terrifying perspective. Imagine a horrific person who commits a terrible, violent act right in the middle of a crowded, sunlit city square, surrounded by 1,000 high-definition security cameras pointing right at his face. The resulting video footage is crystal clear. The physical evidence presented by the police is completely overwhelming. But when the highly publicized case finally goes to a court of law, the perpetrator does not sweat. He just shrugs his shoulders, looks at the judge, and calmly claims that the entire video file was maliciously generated by a rogue algorithm to frame him. Because the ordinary people sitting on the jury have been deeply, psychologically conditioned for years to fear deepfakes on their own phones, they cannot agree on what is real. The seed of doubt is planted. They have to let a guilty monster walk free. The objective truth is no longer a protective shield for the weak and innocent. It has literally become a premium luxury item, strictly reserved for the elite who can afford to twist it. I want you to stop and really think about the massive, world-altering implications of this loophole. We are rapidly, blindly entering a dark world where the powerful and the corrupt have been quietly granted a permanent, unbreakable digital immunity. They can now commit absolutely any act of cruelty, they can say any vile word behind closed doors, and when they are caught, they can simply erase the consequences by claiming the hard evidence was practically uninstalled from reality by a computer program. In this bleak new world we are building, justice is no longer blind. It is just hopelessly, permanently confused. And while you and your family are actively being disconnected from the basic truth of your reality, those few individuals sitting in control at the top are becoming functionally untouchable. This brings us, finally, to the very last stage of this grand, terrifying plan, the absolute, unshakable monopoly of truth. As we collectively lose all faith in our own biological senses, as the cognitive fog completely rolls in, we will naturally, desperately go looking for someone, anyone, to tell us what is actually real. We will drop to our knees and beg for a savior to guide us through the darkness. And the massive tech giants, the very same ones who built the maze, are already patiently waiting in the shadows for that exact moment of surrender. They will kindly offer us a convenient solution. They will introduce a digital seal of approval, a premium blue checkmark for human reality. You will be strictly instructed by the platforms that you can only safely trust a news video or a family photo if it has been officially scanned, processed, and verified by their own central proprietary algorithm. Imagine the feeling of being tightly blindfolded and forced to stand right on the crumbling edge of a busy, 10-lane concrete highway. You can clearly hear the deafening, terrifying roar of the massive transport trucks rushing past your face at high speeds. You are absolutely terrified to take a single step forward. Then, out of the darkness, a stranger firmly grabs your trembling hand and whispers right into your ear, "Trust me. I can see the way. Just follow my lead and do not ask questions." You are entirely stripped of your agency. You have absolutely no choice left but to hold on tight to that hand, desperately praying to whatever you believe in that they are not leading you directly into the path of a speeding vehicle. This absolute reliance is the ultimate, final goal of the deepfake pandemic. The multi-billion-dollar corporations will officially become the undisputed arbiters of truth for the human race. Reality will no longer be something you organically experience with your own eyes, ears, and hands. It will simply be a curated data package that is assigned to you by a server platform. If the central algorithm decides not to give a piece of footage a verified tag, then as far as society is concerned, it never actually happened. If the system quietly decides to delete an inconvenient historical event, a protest, or a speech from its massive database, it will be permanently, cleanly erased from human memory forever. They are not just creating tools for faking the present moment. They are quietly preparing the ultimate infrastructure to rewrite the entire history of the human race. In this near future, you will not even own your own memories. You will only own the highly filtered, carefully approved version of the past that the machine allows you to see. So, as we reach the end of this digital nightmare, let us pull back the camera and look at the terrifying, complete whole picture of our lives. We are not just dealing with an exciting new kind of software that makes funny videos. We are currently living through a deliberate, highly engineered, structural collapse of human trust. The flawless, real-time imposters on your video calls, the intentionally broken security scanners you pay for, the constant, exhausting mental fog that clouds your judgment. These are not accidental bugs in the system. They are the system. The calculated destruction of objective reality is not a tragic, unforeseen accident of progress. It is, without a doubt, the greatest, most silent transfer of psychological power in the entire history of human civilization. First, they systematically took away your biological ability to simply trust what you see with your own eyes. Then, they handed the global elite a perfect, undeniable excuse to hide their worst crimes in plain sight. And now, as the final masterstroke, they are generously offering to sell you the truth back, but strictly, only on their own subscription terms. The glowing piece of glass you are looking at right now, the screen you hold so close to your face, is no longer a clear window to the outside world. It is a highly advanced filter. A filter meticulously, perfectly designed by the smartest engineers on Earth to keep you perpetually confused, totally isolated from your fellow humans, and completely dependent on the algorithm for your own sanity. And this dark realization leaves us with one final, deeply terrifying question. A question you need to intensely, quietly ask yourself the very next time you see something completely unbelievable pop up on your daily feed. Imagine that tomorrow morning, a brave, terrified whistleblower finally releases a crucial video to the internet. A video explicitly exposing the single most important, earth-shattering, undeniable truth of our entire century. A profound truth that could radically change everything about the future for you and your family. But within mere minutes of that video going viral, the powerful people sitting in their boardrooms simply wave their hands and smoothly dismiss the evidence with a very simple, well-rehearsed excuse. They look at the cameras and they tell the world it is just an AI product. Just another deepfake meant to cause panic. And because you are already trapped so deeply in the cognitive fog, because the digital scanners were purposely built to fail you, you have absolutely no technological way to prove them wrong. If that exact scenario happens, and make no mistake, it will happen, does the fundamental concept of truth even exist in our world anymore? Or has the truth just become another high-tech weapon? A very special, incredibly expensive privilege, strictly reserved only for the powerful. Think about that. The very next time you decide to blindly trust your own eyes,